And voila. One last setting change. Wait, I'll fix it. Everybody, welcome to the New Media Show. My name is Todd Cochran. Of course, I'm joined by my co-host, Mr. Rob Greenlee. Rob, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Todd. Great. It's been a busy day today. Lots of calls and doing some live recordings and stuff like that too. So it's been fun.
Yeah, I actually talked to my team about the meeting situation, and this week I just did the math. I think even though it's Wednesday, I think I've already done 25 hours in meetings, and it's not just them. It's client calls and everything, and I'm like, there's only 24 hours in a workday, and we're taking 2 hours here. So, come on. But
I was just talking about this on the last show that I was on. It'd be great if we could clone ourselves.
Oh my God. Well, here's what it's going to boil down to at some point. I'm out of cycles, so it will have to be a PA or something like that. I'm going to have to hire somebody at some point.
It's going to have to be an experienced podcaster, I would think, right?
Yeah, that's the hard part is, I want someone in the office. So I don't want to, if you're,
it's not the same to do it virtual. Is that what you're saying?
It's not going to be as effective, especially, because if you think about the role of a true PA, I could spend as much time handing stuff off and letting them do scheduling as scheduling it myself. So they almost have to have access to your master email. So what do folks do?
In your calendar.
Too, right. What calendar's the easy part. So those of you that, are big shots and have a PA already, how do you hand this load off to them effectively,
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't want to cause myself more work.
Well, there might be more work at the beginning, right?
Yeah, maybe.
As you kind of get them oriented and get them up to speed, but over the long run, it might, give you time.
Yeah, and that's the key is getting time back. And there's, it's just not PA. It's like, if I had all the money Libsyn had, I would probably hire 3 or 4 or 5 positions immediately.
Right.
Because you guys got a lot of money. You just hire people and, take care of the stuff that you need to get taken care of. Mm-hmm. So at least I would think that's what you guys would do.
Well, I think we're shareholder conscious. Just put it that way.
You guys are making a pile of cash. You guys can afford 3, 4, 5 more employees.
Oh, okay.
I saw your guys' earning report. If I had that kind of money coming in, we'd have a much bigger staff.
Well, you're also looking at more than one company to some degree. So that's the thing.
Still, I don't have that problem.
Right.
But it's true. It's it's like you offload a piece, you offload social media, you offload blogging, you have your support team, you have the sales guys, and who's sales? Everybody,
these days,
yeah.
Well, I think more podcasters are thinking that way too. I think that there's more demand for people looking for consultants to help with editing or marketing or social media and stuff like that with their podcasts as they get more successful. Right.
So, we've got the production thing handled. We hand that off to a production team, and then there's I don't mind. Here's where I shouldn't say this because this is really going to sound petty. When someone's interested in a product or service and you think that they're going to be an enterprise customer, you plan for that discussion. And then sometimes, and this probably happens once a week, you get on the phone with them, you're talking to them, they're not enterprise, they just need a $12 hosting account.
Right. They may have thought that they needed something like that, right?
And I don't necessarily try to talk people into spending a higher amount with us than they need to. I feel that would be a disservice, but and then so I have to kind of look, I try to qualify as much as I can any calls I'm going to do, and then other team members do as well. But it's and I'm many of you say, oh, boo-hoo, boo-hoo, but it's part of the podcasting space right now, and we're an independent company. We don't have stockholders. We built the company from the ground, and we don't have VC cash, and then you guys have a different situation. You've got stockholders you have to keep happy on revenue numbers, but as long as you're profitable, I think you're in pretty good shape. So,
right,
it's but I understand why these companies that get venture funding and get 3, 4, 5, 10 million, ramp up on the people that they can hire, because they're under the clock. They're on a 36-month timeline to figure things out and grow big enough to either get another round or be shut down. And I think we've seen some of that this week come true with Wooska, who now $29. Thank you very much per month. And they figured out, just like many of us, that, hey, running a business,
it's expensive.
Not, we've got brick and mortar. We've got an office. We've got, of course, it's empty. We got an office. We've got salaries. We've got benefits, retirement plan, all that stuff. And I look at the bill for just the medical alone each month.
Right.
It takes my breath away.
Right.
So.
And this is just an indication of what, oftentimes we've been saying for many years here. I think we went through a phase when there was just a plethora of free hosting platforms, and they were saying, you're getting ripped off by paying for podcasting, right? And what comes around, there's basic business principles that exist here, and free models typically spike your customer base up higher, but there's usually a price you pay for it in the long run. And one of them is what Wooska is going through right now, is that I think that there's going to be a lot of shows either upgrading or moving.
It's already happening. We're already getting the inquiries already.
Right.
Yeah. So it's been all week. Wooska. So.
And if Wooska had built their platform on more of a paid model, they probably wouldn't be going through this right now. So, right.
And they tried a model and they figured out, what it, and like I said, all it takes is a single Joe Rogan-like show.
Oh yeah, right. Blows your model out.
Your model out.
Right.
When you get that hosting bill and it's $85,000.
Right.
For 1 month.
For one show. Right. Yeah.
Then you're like, are you kidding me?
Right. Yeah.
Or you get an, or you get an, yeah.
Yeah. Kind of hard to cover that. So
you got to sell a lot of ads and then still pay salaries and still pay, all that other stuff.
Well, a lot of people don't really think about the cost of success, and I think that's one of the things that I think podcasters need to think about a little bit more too. And I think a lot of people would love to have this problem, but when you grow a big show and you have a lot of people listening, that is a big responsibility on a couple of different fronts. It puts you to service that community, puts you in a different model.
For sure.
Making that jump to a model that scales requires a different way of thinking about your podcast. So, and that's, I'm just not sure that a lot of podcasters think about the growth shift that will have to happen if they do hit success, with their shows on a big scale.
I had a real good conversation with a podcast production company that is doing video first.
Mm-hmm.
and they're well cognizant of what they're looking at.
When you say they're doing video first, what does that mean?
Means that they are going to do a video podcast as the primary.
It's the primary. Okay, like Twit kind of built their model, right?
Or like this show, So, but they'll have an audio component, but it's going to be video focus and they're going to put the video on Vimeo and YouTube and all those places that video resides, but they're going to have podcast video in their RSS feed. And I probably talked to them on the phone for 45 minutes or so, and you're walking through all that minutia and things that they want to do to be successful.
But are they still prioritizing the audio part of it from a quality perspective? Or?
Well, audio is, if you're going to do video, you can get away with a little less quality audio, but they're definitely going to be looking at the audio piece. That isn't going to be, but their visual is, or they're going to be very much video oriented. So, it's going to be like, look at this bubbly can of lime bubbly, spring water I've got here, that's what they're going to be more visual. And because they kind of agree with maybe some of the things that's been in the news lately, that video podcast is going to be a big part of the future of podcasting.
Well, it always has been a big part. It just depends on how it's thought about. I mean, if you look at what we're doing here, we're obviously prioritizing audio because we're using $400 microphones and we have boom stand booms in front of us. Right. I could do this show off a lavalier. I could do it off of a cheek mic of sorts. And I'm looking at a cheek mic, and those can be extremely expensive as well. But
I've got one sitting right here.
It depends on how you're prioritizing what you're doing. Is the vast majority of your audience audio? Then maybe you need to use $400 microphones to sound the best you can. Depends on where your priorities are.
But again, you can be video first and still use good microphones. There's you look at Leo and everyone else is doing video and they're using good mics. So it really boils down to what the goal of the show is in the aesthetics and
in the visuals that are presented that take context away from the audio.
Yeah.
Do they realize that they have probably a much bigger upside opportunity around the audio distribution of their show?
Well, again, that's going to come along as it's going to come. But again, they are focused video first, and they'll see what happens with their show from an audio perspective. But their approach
is video first.
Right. So we're cool with that.
Right.
And
so are they going to put out a full video podcast? Is that what the plan is?
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. So it'll be an MP4 enclosure and an RSS feed.
Yeah.
Okay.
20
Just
plus.
Like we're doing with this show.
20 plus shows that are going to be video first. So, and we'll see, and they're going to be smart about it. Now how can you be smart about it and doing a video podcast? Well,
encoding.
Well, it's not just encoding, but let's say your website, why not put the video on YouTube and put it on your website as a YouTube embed and then have the video podcast it's the same thing as showing up on YouTube so you may save 5%
on your bandwidth.
Bandwidth by people that have come to the website.
Well, it depends on your YouTube strategy. If you have a stronger YouTube strategy, you can probably get more of your audience.
They don't care about YouTube, but they'll use YouTube as a matter of fact. They don't trust YouTube.
Okay. Well, this gets back to the heart of the issue. Right. I was just talking about this on the last podcast that I was doing too, is that people went from video podcasting over to YouTube many years ago. And I do feel that there is a movement coming back now. And I think it's because of the distrust of YouTube right now.
Well, YouTube has done a whole bunch of work. Let me see if we're still on live. Yeah, we're still live on YouTube. We haven't been shut down yet. Hi, Rita. As a matter of fact, speaking of YouTube Live, so people don't trust. Well, people getting demonetized, deplatformed. You think deplatform? Yeah, people talk about deplatforming and podcasting. Deplatforming is a thing on YouTube.
Right.
So, and I asked the individual I was talking to, I said, "Are you doing controversy?" No, we just don't trust YouTube. I'm like, okay. So
kind of hard to argue with that.
Right. So, as the world turns, as people change, it's just like Facebook. A lot of people don't trust Facebook right now, but yet we're streaming on Facebook. In fact, if you're watching us Facebook, make sure you say hello. So,
yeah, I don't think that we get caught up in the politics of all this stuff on
No.
our distribution strategy.
No,
right?
I don't. But at the same time, I understand people's,
Yeah, I do too. Right.
People's angst.
Well, if you're building your revenue model on these platforms in any degree, you're at the whim of Google to change its, share strategy, right? It's revenue share.
You got to be in like 0.1% of the people on YouTube to make any money anyway.
Right.
It's such a small percentage of people that actually qualify. Everyone else is, it's a money making machine for every one of those small channels on YouTube that gets a play. It's the YouTube cash, it's the cash register sound, ka-ching,
right.
And they make a little revenue on that. But at the same time, they're paying for the bandwidth, and that's not insignificant either. So there's a trade-off. They don't make as much, Obviously, they have a what do I want to call it? What's the best way to describe it? They have the ability to. They have their own fiber, so they put the infrastructure in.
Right.
So they're paying almost nothing. And
right.
they put nodes in all over the place, and so they're not paying backhaul cost and all that stuff.
Right. That's how they've been able to even scale YouTube to the scale that it is.
Yeah.
Is they own the fiber.
Yep.
Typically, so it's basically a giant LAN network is what it is.
Right.
That spans the globe. They've been able to build nodes all over the world.
Well, they paid for underground.
Right.
They paid for global crossings and ships that go across and lay fiber down.
Yeah, and I'm sure their goal has always been is to not get out on the public internet. I think a lot of people get confused when people talk about this concept of what we're talking about. But the analogy that's true is you have a home router, you plug in your computer into the home router, and you share connections between the computers on your home network.
Right.
That's basically what Google's doing.
Yeah.
So it's just on a massive scale.
Yeah, an absolutely massive scale.
Right. And that's what Facebook's doing. That's what Microsoft is doing. Apple is, I'm sure, doing it too. So all these big tech companies, that's how you cut your costs.
That's a fact.
Yep. So anyway.
I'm trying to make sure that our newmediashow.com email addresses, which we both don't use too much, doesn't get shut off. I guess I got to put a different credit card on it.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
but I do think that I think the costs of bandwidth have come down dramatically, even out over the public internet. So maybe it is an okay time to start bringing back video podcasting. I don't know.
Well, one thing's for sure is I think we both have insider knowledge on where the bandwidth cost is. So I would think here that, well, here's the thing. All the newcomers to the podcasting space, they didn't have to pay their dues when we were paying 17 cents a gig.
Or higher.
Right.
Yeah. I had my own servers co-located for many years too. Todd, you remember that?
Yeah.
I had like up to, I think I had as many as 6 servers located in 2 co-location facilities. I was hosting other people's podcasts. I was doing streaming is what I was doing primarily back then. Windows streaming servers and Real Networks or Helix servers back then.
Right.
I got out of that though because my servers kept getting hacked.
And it's
tired of fighting it.
Yeah, it's a lot of work to maintain servers.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
But it saved me a boatload of money on delivery costs because I was able to contract for my own bandwidth.
Yeah.
And not have to go through a third party to get access to the public internet. So, right.
I think that, my experience with that is when I co-located my bulletin board back in the day, and I put it in a closet in in an ISP, and I paid $250 to have servers in a closet every month, but I was on a high speed connection, compared to everyone else.
Right. So, Todd, you probably saw it. I can't remember if we talked about that Elon Musk was on Clubhouse over the weekend. I
heard about it.
Yeah. I think it's an interesting dynamic that created, and you start thinking about, do you think Clubhouse may be a bigger threat to radio than it is to podcasting?
No.
I kind of wonder, though.
Nah.
Well, because it is like talk radio, right?
Yeah. Nah.
Nah?
Nah.
So who is it going to erode it as people? Okay, so let's say when they open Clubhouse out to Android, right? And you get millions of more people in there, because I've heard that they're up to about 6 million users now. And you really open it up.
Here's when Clubhouse...
You get a lot of people in there. What's going to happen?
Here's when Clubhouse dies.
You think Clubhouse is going to die?
I don't think Clubhouse is going to be a big flash in the pants come June or July.
Well, I think it's going to get acquired. I think
that's what's probably. But here's what's going to happen. You come back to work, come back to the office. When employees are told to come back to the office, and they have to commute,
right,
and they have to sit in their cube and operate as business as normal, who then, those 2-3 hours of taking your kids to school, after school events, taking care of transportation, cooking dinner, all that stuff, people are going to be once again collapsing in their chairs or their couches and falling asleep by 9 o'clock. They're not going to have. They're not going to have this extra time. Now, a certain segment of the population is going to for a while. But think about if the people that are working at home, the amount of time that they are not spending on the road, not spending at basketball games, not all this stuff that we're not doing in life. Who's going to have time to go hang out on Clubhouse for 2-3 hours a night?
Well, Todd, I'm hearing in rooms on Clubhouse people joining Clubhouse from the car, waiting in line at the drive-through, to people at the gym, or they're listening and then contributing. If you think about the earpods, right? People can be tuned into this stuff no matter where they are.
Yeah.
Right.
We'll see.
Yeah. So I think it's definitely a unique medium, though. I'm just wondering where it's going to erode from their people's time that they're spending. Is it going to take it away from podcasting, or is it going to take it away from some other media? As it grows.
We'll see. We'll see.
Right. I guess
But the problem is when it grows, it becomes a mess.
Oh, it's going to be a mess. There's no question about that.
It's already a mess.
Yeah, right. Well, that's the world we live in, Todd. It's only going to be a reflection of the world we live in.
So, I'm not
some of the topics in there. I've never heard anywhere people talking about these topics in a semi-public forum before.
Yeah, I'm not bullish on Clubhouse for the long term.
What do you think's going to come from it, though? It's not just going to. I mean, this is a little bit of a Pandora's box.
More podcasters.
So more of a controlled, on-demand medium. Because that's what podcasting is.
As soon as a Clubhouse group is shut down, and their voices are taken away within the app, then the perception is going to change. When did the perception change on the Robinhood app? The perception on the Robinhood app that allowed people to do trading, just like the big boys, the perception changed when Robinhood said, sorry, recreational or whatever they define as these investors, you can't trade like the big boys. We're taking permissions away from you. So there's going to be some event that's going to happen on Clubhouse where censorship or political correctness or whatever it is going to catch up with a channel, and people are going to be like, I'm not building an empire over here.
Well, one indication of this was the Elon Musk conversation was with the CEO of Robinhood on Clubhouse, and there was one guy that just, he didn't get anybody's permission, but he just recorded it and put it out, with his own commentary around it out on YouTube, the whole thing. So he took the audio out of Clubhouse and fed it into a recording, into a YouTube video.
Well, I hope he's got a private YouTube account so Clubhouse doesn't know who that was.
Well, he was public about who he was, and he streamed it live on YouTube too.
Wow.
And if you go to that on-demand version of that, it's been taken down. So
the YouTube version's been taken down?
Right.
Oh, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting.
I'm sure Clubhouse came over there and put the hammer on that content.
But that could be where there's a danger to Clubhouse, is when people start using it as a recording platform, right? Because then the employers can go back and listen to what's said by their employees on demand. But if they're said in a room that isn't being recorded, there's a little less risk.
Rob, right? I would be shocked, absolutely shocked, if Clubhouse wasn't recording every room internally. From a legal standpoint, they almost have to.
That's an interesting question.
Okay, so someone says, I'm going to something to someone.
Don't they have a legal obligation to put that in their terms?
Has anybody read?
Well, that's a whole other question.
Has anybody read it?
They have a legal obligation to put that in their terms if they're doing that.
But if someone said, I'm going to do this to someone, some form of hate speech.
Right.
Okay. And there's nobody. Okay, so
what's like for slander or defamation,
whatever it may be.
Right.
And someone reports that to Clubhouse 2 to 3 days later, or instantly. How does Clubhouse know that person committed that and have proof enough to be able to basically cancel their account?
Well, the only reason that they would do that is if they feel like they have some legal liability for conduct that is occurring on their platform, right? And then they need to be able to point the finger externally, right?
Right. Well, so they're going to have the same growing pains as any other. I think they're going to have more trouble.
Well, some of the topics in the rooms there are like, wow, I wouldn't even. I'm a little hesitant to even go into those rooms sometimes.
Oh, they're X-rated, kink, all that stuff, right?
Oh, I mean, and it's because you go into a room and all your followers get notified. Rob Greenlee's in this room.
What?
To some degree, that's going on. Yeah.
So you don't have privacy on where you go in Clubhouse?
Not necessarily, because when you go into a room, especially when you get pulled up on stage, you get, I mean, if you've opted in for notifications, it'll send out to all the people that are following you that you just entered this room.
Interesting. Now that would be an experiment. Set up some room name.
Mm-hmm.
Something. Dun, 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 dun.
I mean, I purposely left the notifications on my watch on what's going on in Clubhouse, and I'm constantly getting barraged with notifications.
Well, then you ignore it when it's a barrage like that. But still, all it takes is one person to see. Well, be honest with you, if you're expecting anonymous, you go into a room, your name's there. They can see you're in there. They can look at your profile.
Well, yeah, I mean, on the app itself, it lists at the top of the list, and I think it's ranked based on your popularity on the platform. It lists all the people that are in that room. Well, that's how it works, right? People are scrolling through the list. Do I recognize a name?
Yeah.
Am I friends with that person? Do I know that person? Is it Mark Andreessen, or is it Steven Sinofsky, or is it Elon Musk, right? Well, I want to join that conversation. Well, that's what they're doing, is they're teasing it based on people's reputations and credibility.
So what you should do is start a room with just some crazy topic name.
People are doing that. I'm like going, wow. I wouldn't even have thought of those two things together.
Oh, that person and that topic. Or just the topic.
Some of them are like this versus that, right? And some of them I don't even want to say,
Wow. So are we? I guess it's not adult in nature, but necessarily just controversial.
Right. They're things that people don't talk about.
It's all cool until someone gets fired.
Right. It can be like sexual orientation. It can be race related. It could be politically oriented. It could be, just think of the whole gamut of what is potential.
Someone raises their hand, you bring them to the stage, and then they say something absolutely either racist, or they say something hate speech or whatever. What are you to do? You are associated with that now.
I mean, not everybody's going to hear it, but the people in the room are going to hear it. And this is where the anonymous recording, right, that this guy did with Elon Musk. You just don't know how many people out there in your room have Rodecaster Pros.
That's right.
That are plugged in, recording everything, and I'm going to put it out as a podcast.
I should take my Rodecaster home and plug it into an old iPhone and have the Clubhouse channels just automatically recording there. It should be for some spicy, juicy stuff.
I mean, I am seeing it more mainstream now that podcasters are in there recording episodes. I mean, I see it on my notification screen on my watch. It has the big, red recording button. It says in parentheses recording.
Does it record in the app, or you have to record?
No, you have to do it externally.
Oh, not for long, I'm sure.
Well, it depends on if Clubhouse adds that ability.
Yeah.
Do they want to go down that path, or do they, that would be a legal question, I would think.
Wow.
Yeah. So I didn't notice that Squadcast now, I was just in Squadcast doing a recording before I came on here. They've released an upgrade. And they now record video.
Oh.
So it wasn't they were using video as just a way to see two people talking, but they were only exporting audio.
Yeah.
But now they've added the video component to it now.
And I apologize, I've got a demo account on a site that does similar stuff. What's the other one?
Yeah, because I think we were talking about using an audio only. Is that what
it's audio only, but you can see the person that you're talking to.
Okay, kind of like what Squadcast was doing.
Yeah, okay. I got to go back and look in
a Riverside FM does that as well.
That's who I have an account with.
Do you? Yeah. Yeah, I talked to the CEO of that company here recently.
Okay, but
So
let me double check.
it seems like a decent platform. I think one thing that's interesting about Squadcast is that they were really focused on quality audio to begin with.
Yeah.
And now they've added HD quality video now. So if they've been able to keep the same audio quality, then they've created a terrific platform here.
Yeah.
I think one of the things with Zoom and some of these other video conferencing platforms is that their audio quality is not that great.
Yeah, I'm in their system right now. I'm trying to look at I think there's some streaming stuff in this too, because it says recording with RTMP. So Rob, let's do it then. A couple of weeks from now, let's do a Clubhouse podcast. Let's record this show in there. You're going to have to facilitate it, though.
Well, I don't have a Rodecaster.
Oh, you
Pro,
don't?
But you do, right?
Yeah.
But I guess you can use that new Zoom 4-channel audio interface that is now available for this as well. I guess they have an input jack.
Which device is that?
That's the new one that they put out, and I can't.
It's actually hardware.
Yeah, it's a Zoom portable recorder that has 4 XLRs on it, but I guess it also has one of those jacks that the Rodecaster has.
How is it that you don't have a Rodecaster, Lori? Rob needs.
I've got a kick-ass setup here. I don't, that's the thing.
You can't integrate with Clubhouse, so it's not that kick-ass.
Well, I'm a podcaster, Todd, not a Clubhouser. Yeah. No, believe me, I've thought about getting one of those things. But then it'd be like, I've got this great setup that I have here that I don't know what I would do.
I've been having problems with mine. It keeps disconnecting from my iMac Pro.
Right.
I'm talking along, and all of a sudden it just drops out. So I don't know if I have to reach out to that team.
Yeah, I guess, Todd, I'm a little old school. I have an analog Mackie mixer.
Well,
and then I have an audio, a high-end audio interface that interfaces with the analog.
That's what's going on here. There's wires from hell integrating into all kinds of digital stuff.
Right. I guess it's time for me to upgrade to the latest and greatest, right? Is that what you're saying?
I don't know about that, but
though I did hear that the Rodecaster Pro had some recording issues over the last couple of weeks, where people were getting garbled audio out of them. So maybe it's not so perfect.
Let us pray that the video recording today doesn't fail, because I failed.
Yeah, what happened with last week?
I lost a video
Saturday.
recording, and then today, guess what I just... So I did an ultimate podcaster gaffe. We're okay, because I've got a backup on the TriCaster, but it just takes longer to get it out. So,
well, I was surprised that Facebook and YouTube didn't have it. That's the thing.
No,
I thought we were live.
Yeah, we were live. All that went up. There was no problems there.
Well, there's no Facebook video
of
for
which show?
Last week's show. Or YouTube either.
I think you're wrong, because those all... So which date?
I couldn't find one. Oh, wait. So the last one we did was the 27th. Was that right?
Today is February 3rd. So I see the Facebook one from the 27th.
No, okay. No, from Saturday.
Saturday. 30th. This last Saturday.
Yeah, I didn't see one.
This last Saturday, I lost the master.
Yeah, but why would we have lost that on YouTube though?
We didn't.
I thought YouTube records
Let's see here. What date would have that been? Let me look here. Saturday was the 3rd. No, it would have been
the 31st. Is probably when you publish the audio.
Let's see here. Today is the 3rd, and so it'd have been from the 30th. Yeah, the Facebook one is up. I'm wearing the orange shirt. January 30th, 12:01 p.m. It's there.
Oh, I didn't see it on the page. And actually, I think
on the new media show page.
Listener, Yeah, I think.
Yeah,
we had a listener write us and say they couldn't find it.
Yeah, I may not have shared it, so I can fix that. I may have not shared it to the new media page. I may have missed a step. So
does that have the ability to export the video out of that?
No, it does not. But the YouTube video should be there too. So
we should be able to export the YouTube video?
Yeah. Yeah. And I've got the master on here. It's a 50 gig file I have to transfer off the TriCaster. So that was the reason I didn't do it. But if I lose, it's surprising someone noticed, because if I lose a video version of the show, then I put the audio version there instead.
Yeah, I saw that myself. Well, I mean, I think if you think about it, we get 20% of our total audience off of that video podcast. Yeah. So
something happened here.
Listeners.
Yeah, something happened here. But
right,
they could still listen to it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's true. And we emphasize the audio. That's for sure.
But yeah, I don't know. We'll see what I'm not too wrapped up around the axle about Clubhouse. Maybe the train will leave without me, but I got too much. I don't have time.
Right.
And still be able to live and have a life.
Right. Well, that's the other side of it, right? I think it depends on your goals and where you're trying to position yourself. So I did see in the Sounds Profitable newsletter that there's been an emphasis around dynamic ad insertion came out, raising some interesting topics around the importance of.
I haven't read that at all lately. So what did you say? Dynamic ad insertion,
and Brian's contention is that dynamic, and I've had this contention too. I've said many times, dynamic insertion doesn't have to be just about advertising. It can be about lots of different types of content.
Sure.
So, and he makes this case too, is that it depends on how you produce the show, how you produce the ad inserted segments. Because sometimes they'll be there, sometimes they won't, especially if it's advertising. So how do you produce the content, the main content, different than producing the actual ad content?
It's simple. So, you produce the content as if there's not going to be an ad in it.
Be an ad, and then you produce the ad as though it's just for the ad.
Right.
So, which means that if you have any exits or any comeback audio, right, saying, well, we're going to take a break right now or something like that, that needs to be built into the insertion.
Into the insertion.
Right. Not into the main content, because the last thing you want is to have you go into an exit, say the exit, and then you immediately come back with the intro coming back in again, right? Because then it's like, well, what was the point?
Yeah, we've been telling podcasters that for years. Matter of fact, we've been giving Blueberry customers, basically we've said, if you ever think you're ever going to have advertising, you need to plan now, so that 2 years from now, when you say, okay, it's time, that you don't have to go back and do a bunch of editing. You've already got those spots marked. You know where that insertion point is.
Right. I think it's smart.
You know, for us, we require the metadata in the actual ID3 tag.
Right, and you can make it a segment transition, but just stop talking.
You have
That's what I've always said.
You have to breathe one time.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. Just go. And then come back again, right? So at least you've created a dead air marker in the wave feed. So it's pretty simple, really.
It is.
Just apply some common sense and things will figure it out. But I thought it was an interesting article that he did. I thought he did a good job with it.
So I did get some feedback from the Podcast Awards.
You did? Okay. Good or bad? Was it good?
Registration is off to the races. I've had great response in 3 days. But of course, okay, I'll read one of the Twitter points to see if I have the right Twitter account loaded. Let's see here. Is that the right one? I'm going to have to switch the account. Basically, the essence of it was, why don't you have a category for this? A Portugal, Best Portugal podcast. And
interesting. Right.
yeah, they're like, why don't you have that? And I said, well, then I said, well, I think I irritated him a little bit because I said, yes, so what do we want to designate? Language or country? Because Brazil speaks Portuguese.
Right.
And they have an explosive podcasting space.
Right.
Portugal, I guess they have pretty good podcasting space. They speak Portuguese. So what do I said Latin. I said best Asian. So I'm referring to.
Does Latin include Portuguese? I think it does.
Well, I think it depends on where you're from.
Right. Of course.
So yeah, there's always that. So I really what it is though is when I think about best Asian produced podcast, I'm thinking about a person of Asian descent that is doing the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with best Latin podcast. That would be a Spanish speaking person that was,
right.
And or Spanish descent. Of course, there's people in the United States that speak Spanish in their podcast. That would still qualify.
And there's different flavors of Spanish.
That's right.
Spoken in Spain. There's different ones.
So I kind of knew, and I told her, I said, you get support to have at least if you can guarantee me 30 podcasters from Portugal will participate and help us cover the cost of the category, then but again, it's I'm not doing country specific. I'm doing language specific.
Yeah, because then that'll cover more countries.
Right. So basically that she was kind of upset that I said, talk about Brazil. I know Portugal and Brazil are not the two same things. I'm not an idiot.
Right.
And but they both speak Portuguese. So
they can understand each other.
Right. So do I do the best Portugal produced podcast or the best Portuguese produced podcast? And I think that based on what we've done originally, that's what I would do.
Mm-hmm. So you could make a case country specific, though.
I could, but then I'm going to have to have Russia, Spain, every,
Right.
Hey, we can do it.
It becomes a whole other podcast award event.
It's you have to draw the line someplace. So
right.
And it starts looking stupid. It just looks like a money grab, and that's what this is not a money grab.
Mm-hmm.
Matter of fact, my dev is like all excited because he's like, well, you might have some more budget at the end of the year to do some more improvements. That we've got a long list, right? And I gave him like, I don't know if I think I budgeted, it wasn't a lot this year on improvements, but
right.
Because I don't want this to be a money making thing. Because you know what I have to do? I got to pay taxes on that.
Got to turn it into a nonprofit.
No, that's more paper. That's no.
That's actually worse.
It's better just to spend the money, put it on dev, put it on,
Right.
No. It's better just X in, X out, net zero.
So, I think you're on the right track of your thinking, though, of the globalization of podcasting.
Yeah.
I think just to be fair to people outside of the U.S., we need to be thinking more about them. So, that's what I'm doing with the Podcast Academy too. We're pushing on that button as well, and I'm doing it in all my work. I'm trying to think outside of the U.S. more and more and more. So. Yeah. I've been on that track for many years, but it's time to ramp it up. So
Christian, if you're listening,
mm-hmm.
You can win a podcast award. And here's the key. All you got to do is engage your audience just a little.
Right. Get them to vote for you.
Yeah, get them to vote for you once the nominations are open. So,
hey, Todd, did you see Spotify?
Yeah.
There's an article that came out saying Spotify's got 2.2 million podcasts.
I'm glad you brought that up.
And when Apple Podcasts has 1.8.
So
I wonder what the difference is.
I can tell you where the difference is.
Really?
Absolutely.
Okay. I had a suspicion of what that might be, but let's see if you confirm that for me.
It's 400,000 uninformed Anchor users that are on Spotify only.
That are putting out music podcasts, right? Is that
No. They're putting out they're putting out a podcast.
That's what I thought maybe it was. Is all those those new music podcasts are only available on Spotify.
But considering that Spotify, Anchor submits all the podcasts to Apple automatically,
right?
Then that really doesn't hold true. So
yeah, but those shows don't get submitted over to Apple. Those music ones.
There's no way there's 400,000 music podcasts that they haven't got. Please.
Well, then where's it coming from then, do you think?
Dupes?
Is it dupes?
I don't know. But I don't know how they get to that number. Let me look at
it's the same thing that we saw on Google Podcasts, though, Todd. This was like a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, that Google was claiming over 2 million feeds.
I'm going to my master list.
Though I don't know that I've heard an update from Google on whether or not they had an issue with duplication, or if there was just a bunch of feeds out there with podcasts in it that just aren't in the Apple catalog.
My number's closer to the internet, to the Podcast 2.0 number. So,
which is
I don't have 1.8 in my directory. Let me go
That's
look.
what Daniel has.
Right. So...
And Daniel's pulling on the Apple API to come up with that number.
Let's see if I can find their number. Okay. So, Podcast Index has 1,375,339. Todd has 1,410,946.
Why is there a difference?
Good. Well, where are the missing 400,000 from Apple Podcasts then? If Daniel says there's 1.8 million on Apple Podcasts.
And Spotify is saying 2.2.
And I've got 1.4, and Podcast Index has 1.3.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's bringing back nightmares of what we went through in the early days around podcast metrics.
And the folks at Podcast Index has a woefully big different number than Daniel does. They say in the last 60 days, only 323,000 shows have updated, have a new episode. Daniel's number is much bigger than that. He says last 90 days, almost 1 million.
Oh, it's actually 1.1 million.
I don't see that. I've got one. So where am I missing 400,000 shows? Where's How Come Podcast?
Pulling your data from? Are you pulling it from the same Apple APIs?
Pulling it from multiple locations, including Apple. So I don't know. Maybe maybe something's broke with Podcast Index. Maybe there's something broke with us. Who knows? No one's complaining.
I know early on there was some concern about duplications.
I've got some dupes in my system. I know I do. So my number's lower.
But that would cause your numbers to be above Daniel's numbers.
Well, it depends on how bad.
Not the other way around.
I would expect there's 30,000, 40,000 dupes. We've been pretty good at deduping our system. So, we go through and run a script like every 3 months to.
Do you think it's possible the dupes could be the difference between HTTPS and HTTP?
No,
feeds?
I don't think so. Not on our side, it's not.
Okay.
But coders are not going to make that stupid mistake of not allowing for either or the same feed address.
I wouldn't think so, but
But
I do know that we went through a transition on that.
True.
In the last year or so.
So and maybe the folks at Podcast Index aren't updating their number. Yeah. It's somewhere. It's somewhere between 1.4 and 2.2 million. And where the heck they're getting these extra shows, I have no. So someone's got to scrape Spotify then.
I don't know that they can do that.
Hey, you get a podcaster that is not a podcaster. I
don't think Spotify has APIs, public APIs on that.
There's other ways to scrape a website, Rob.
No, I know that. Right. It's just.
Let's see here. Let me look at.
It's going to be fraught with flaws, though, I would imagine.
So you open the web player. It would be very hard.
Right.
Because.
And I'm sure Spotify would be able to identify it, maybe block it too.
Oh, probably. So let me see here. Here's Geek News Central. Yeah. See, they have this long. Spotify.com/low/1CZ-ADDM3CZB0EPVBQCV. It would take a millennia to scan their website because there's no rhyme, no reason there's no organization to the library. Someone may be able to figure out the secret decoder ring on that because I'm sure that's some sort of value from the show name or they're triggering that on something.
Right.
So... yeah, I should go ahead and follow my show. Whoa, I followed my own show on Spotify. I'm one of 3 listeners.
Right.
But one thing Spotify does do is they do recognize the album art. So they do pick up my episode art. But I guess someone's just going to have to, I don't know how you would scrape it. Well, I wonder if Spotify would give someone a dump. That would be the thing, is someone get a dump from Spotify. That's probably easier to get than trying to go through a bunch of minutia.
Hey, Todd, did you see that there's been some news leaking out that the podcast app from Apple on iOS is getting upgraded for the 14.5 version?
Yep.
And it looks like maybe they're rearranging things in that app to draw the eye to certain activities in a different way. Above the fold, somewhat, like to click to find latest episode for this show. It's like a big bold button, and then a play button that's right below the cover art in the app. So in each of the episodes. So it looks like they're really focusing on trying to drive people, making sure that they can find the episodes and actually very easily click and play the episode.
Well, I will say one thing about the Spotify experience. They've gotten better in their search. Because I found our shows, no problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those are basics, right? That all these platforms should really focus in on is search.
Yeah, I'm going to search for my name and see what I find. What's this? Oh, I did. I found all the shows I'm involved in. It has my name.
And I just got an update to my Apple Watch, too. Came out.
Well, that's interesting. So I can see all the shows I was on. Let me see if I can show this. So it shows all the shows I've been on recently.
Where's this? On Spotify?
Yeah. I search for my name. I see my 1500th episode. I see some, basically. Oh, let me click on this. See all. Oh my gosh, it goes back quite a ways. Some of it's dupe.
So it's similar to what Podchaser's doing, right?
Yeah. Let's search for you. So let me see all. So yeah, you're on a number of shows as well.
It lists me along with you. Is that
No,
what it does?
I just did you by yourself. Now let's try that. Rob Greenlee.
So are our watchers seeing this? But I'm not.
Oh yeah, our listeners our watchers are seeing this. So when I search for your and my name together, the only thing that comes up is New Media Show. So it looks like it does search. It does search all those shows. Of course, there's no video version of the shows up there.
Right. Well, it's because Spotify doesn't support that.
Which, when is that going to happen? Because there's a lot of people chomping at the bit to put video on Spotify.
That's an interesting question. I agree with you. I think if Spotify adds podcasting or adds video podcasting, I think it'll give a definite boost.
Why wouldn't they? It's pass through. So.
Right. They've said that they want to emphasize more video.
Yeah.
Why don't they? I don't know why they wouldn't do that.
I don't know either. So
maybe by us talking about it, we can encourage them.
So I have promised my audience a little bit more audio-only versions, Rob, and I know I want to do a few of those on this show as well. So we might be surprising some of you a little bit on an audio version of the show only from time to time. But we'll try to do mostly, continue doing video, of course, primarily.
So you think the listeners would prefer us just to do more audio? Is that what you're saying, and less video? What's your thought?
I don't know. I've gotten that from my audience. They basically have said, and I got no complaints about the people that are subscribed to the video.
I was going to say it's just a choice.
So I basically have said I would like to do, because let's be frank. I talked about on the last show, getting this engine all turned up. It's a lot easier just to slap on a headset and a microphone and record a show from time to time. But
Todd, I wanted to pose a question to you. So I've been challenged on this by a few people in the podcasting space here recently. When I raised the topic that Joe Rogan is no longer a podcast.
Nope, he's not.
But Spotify keeps claiming them as the number one podcast.
Well, they're not a podcast. It's false advertising.
Do we want, is it time for us to consider something like Joe Rogan as a podcast, even though it's not really on RSS?
No, I'm a purist. I'm going to stick to that to the day I die.
Okay.
It's a show. It's not a podcast anymore.
Right.
I can't subscribe to it. I can't take Joe with me on an airplane.
But doesn't that conflict with the messaging that Spotify is trying to make about Joe Rogan?
Well, they're changing the definition because that's their prerogative. They want to have the number one podcast, and they want to be able to make that claim. And
right. So it's more of a marketing thing.
Yeah, it's marketing. So they don't care what Todd thinks, Well, and no one else does.
Because I've made that claim before amongst groups.
And what do they say?
Kind of larger media companies, and they kind of cringe at that. And I think a lot of that gets back to is that they don't want to accept the fact that if they take a podcast, put it behind a more of a paywall, and not have it available publicly as an RSS feed, that they still want to be able to refer to it as a podcast.
Rob, if you and I go on radio and don't do any type of syndication, we don't put this show out as a feed, we do it live, and we do it live only, are we a podcast?
Right.
No, we're not. So what?
But some people are defining their YouTube shows as podcasts these days.
Good luck to that.
I know. I say, are you putting your audio out in an RSS feed? No.
Well, they're not a podcast.
But you're not putting your video out either. So
you're a YouTuber.
Right. But since podcasting is hot right now, everybody wants to be associated with that. And I think people are seeing more and more video being produced around podcasting, that people start thinking they're a video podcast now.
In the end, it's,
it doesn't matter, I guess, to the audience.
Rob, remember, podcasting's 21 years old. So
we're way past that now, right?
But, so podcasting's 21 years old, and you don't have to have an RSS feed to have a podcast anymore. So you can't have people are rewriting stuff. So it's,
Well, and it's frustrating to me because I started doing a radio show in 1999, and I never considered myself to be a podcaster until 2004.
That's right.
It's like, okay, the technology was invented. I guess we don't have to go back down this.
I was a blogger. Again, I was a blogger and a poor one.
Right.
I became a podcaster in 2004 when someone could subscribe to my show on iPodder and walk out the door with my show with one of these, a little iRiver.
I mean, I could do that with my radio show back then, right? I could just drag and drop my MP3 file.
But that wasn't the thing. It was automated.
Right.
And it
didn't even have a name back then.
And it used the internet at 2:00 in the morning when you were asleep to download these files. It would take 45 minutes to download because the internet sucked.
Yeah, that's what the innovation was. I had a whole web page that I created with links to MP3 files.
Yeah, well, you can.
And I think that a lot of people did go into my web page and download the audio.
I'm sure they did.
And then drag and drop it over their MP3 players.
Absolutely.
Right.
I did, and I was really sick of it because I was doing the same thing.
Right.
As a matter of fact, I had a program that I would run that would rip audio from live streams. I would set it up to be on someone's live internet radio stream because that existed before podcasting.
Right.
And I would set that ripper up to rip a 3-hour. Specifically, I would get Art Bell. It was back in the day.
Right.
He had a live stream of his show. He was on radio, but I was never awake to listen to him. So I set my ripper up to rip from like midnight to 3:00 in the morning when he was on my local, when he was streaming. And then I would take that MP3 file that was created, and it may even not even been an MP3, it was something. And I would drag that into my little device, and I could listen to Art Bell on my iRiver.
Well, to also bring some more context to this too, is that Audible came out with their platform I believe in 2001, which is the same time frame that's been put out there as the birth of podcasting. But that was built on a proprietary platform that had digital DRM wrapped around the audio files. You couldn't play it off of you couldn't play it on any other device other than an Audible device back then.
Then when podcasting did kick off, Art Bell had a private, oh my God, in 2004, 2005, he had a private podcast feed that you would get your login authentication, and I would be able to get Art Bell downloaded as a podcast through a private podcast in 2005 when no one knew what the hell that even meant. So,
well, you know who actually created, from my recollection, really created the whole paid podcasting model, pay per download, whatever it was, David Lawrence.
Yeah, that's right.
He launched the Online Tonight. It was a nationally syndicated radio show. I was a guest on his show once, and he was on my show once as well in the early days of prior to podcasting. He was paying. He had a platform that he was working at that enabled micropayments to pay for individual MP3 downloads, and he was charging for individuals, and then I think he was charging a bundle package to get access to a certain number of episodes every month. He was really innovative in those days.
I think I paid.
This concept.
I think I paid $19 a month to access that online archive of Coast to Coast. You know?
Oh, Coast to Coast, yeah.
Yeah, and I paid for that. And initially, you could only listen to it on the web. It was web-based only. Then as podcasting proceeded, because I was listening to Art Bell and Coast to Coast long before podcasting came on the scene. Right. So for me, it was like a godsend because, oh my God, I can wake up in the morning. I don't have to run the ripper. I don't have to set the timer. I don't have to write the script and do all this thing to catch the audio. And as long as this was plugged into my computer, I could walk out the door with it. Oh,
right. Yeah, that was something.
That was something, and that was that was radio, true radio, that was made into a podcast.
Yeah, and where's the next innovation coming from? I think we get criticized, Todd, because we tend to poo-poo innovation.
I don't think we want people to listen wherever they want to listen.
I mean, I get that impression that we've given the impression that we're not in favor of innovation, and we don't want the podcasting space.
Dying for it,
right? And I guess where we come in is we're questioning the view of what innovation is. Is it just a throwback to what we have, or is it a compromised situation for other values?
What Spotify did with Rogan. It's going backwards to 1980, going back to 2004.
Well, it's more of a big media model. It's turning out to be.
It's a gatekeeper. It's you have to pay for, or you have to log in to access. You got to give up your information to get access to that content. They know who you are, how long you listen. They can market to you. They can sell that marketing.
Right. There's a reason why they paid him $100 million for that.
That's right.
Right.
Because what did he give up? Open distribution, privacy. People didn't know who was listening to Joe Rogan. My son, to talk to him yesterday, he just moved to Portland, and from LA. He got the hell out of LA because he was scared for his life and couldn't handle California lockdowns anymore. Don't know if Portland's any better, but he told me, he says, it really sucks that I have to use Spotify to listen to Joe Rogan. He said that it just sucks. It sucks. How old is he? 22.
Why is he saying that? What's the thing that's sucky about it for him?
He was trained.
He was trained.
By his
it's your fault, right?
By his dad on how to subscribe to shows that he could listen very simply. He says, I have to go this and this and this and like this. I got to click 5 things. And if I'm not in a good internet connection, it buffers and, so.
Right.
So I'm like, he hasn't listened to radio. He doesn't listen to radio. Rob.
Yeah.
Now, somebody that does studies is going to say we're wrong. But honestly, only old people listen to radio.
Well,
here it comes.
That wouldn't be funny except for the demographics prove that correct. Right?
Well, actually, no. If you listen to the Infinite Dial, I am wrong.
Really?
Well, you look at the study, radio still has a huge listenership across lots of age groups. So
yeah, but is it declining in the younger demo?
Well, we'll let Tom announce that, but
or is it the growth of the amount of older people? I mean, I think we are coming into a time when there's going to be more older people than there are younger people, right? So
yeah, with the boomers, I'm the oh my God, date myself. I'm the last year of the boomers. Yeah. So 1964 is the last year of that you can officially be recognized as a boomer. Right. So I didn't have a choice when I was born. So, God, I say that feel so old.
There's a lot of people that are saying there's huge opportunity for catering to boomers right now. There's a lot of disposable income there. There's a lot of, that demographic or that age demo is pretty powerful in our society right now about, advertisers wanting to reach them.
Oh, that's right. Mike says you don't have to use Spotify to listen to Rogan. That's right. That Rogue feed is still out there.
Rogue feed?
There's there's someone has created an RSS feed for Rogan's show.
Wonder how long that's gonna last.
It's lasted so far. Hasn't been taken down so far.
Wow. What hosting platform is that on, or is it just a
Mike? What was that link? We talked about it months ago. Where's that link still living? I forget, but we talked about it in this podcast.
Right.
But yeah, fans are, I think fans are awesome because here's what they do. And it's all of us race to our hosting platforms and do a search for Joe Rogan. Well, probably. Yes, send the link in the show notes, Mike, if you can. In Facebook. The fans are wonderful. So, if someone says you have to listen on Spotify, a fan goes, "No, I don't think so." And they wait to they reverse engineer whatever they've done and they make an RSS feed that works and they still get it the way they want it. So $100 million deal, I just showed the flushing of a toilet. There's a working around. Oh, he says, I don't remember. He's looking. So, you're subscribed to that feed? Shh.
Yeah. I don't think that we should share that
We
URL.
have, though. We did share it before. So
did we?
Yeah, we did. So the cat's already out of the bag for people who have been listening for a while. You guys can go back in previous shows and find it. I don't know where, but so fans are going to help spread your message if you're limited distribution. So maybe technically Rogan's still a podcast because of this Rogue RSS feed. It's out there.
Right. There you go. Yeah.
Which is, that's up to Spotify to decide what they're going to do with that. Maybe they can't. It's the genie's out of the bottle. Maybe they just hope it doesn't get too much publicity.
Yeah, right. So I guess Amazon Music podcasts launched in Canada now, so they're up there.
And
that's a pretty big market for Google Home.
Yeah.
So we haven't really talked a lot about Google Home over the time period, but they're a good platform for
when they break
podcasts.
if they break 1%, we can talk about them.
Right. When it comes to consumption, right?
Right. I was having a discussion with how should I say this without getting in trouble? A future podcast platform.
A future podcast platform. Okay.
A future place where you'll be able to get a podcast.
Right.
Okay. That will remain unnamed or I will be in big trouble.
Right. I think I know what you're about to say.
And I said, all you got to do is get to 1%. I said 1% is success in the podcasting space. Yeah. And in all honesty, I said, I don't think you'll have a problem getting there. And we can
talk about this after we announce.
And I won't go into too much detail. Maybe, well, again, I'm not going to say too much because it's going to maybe clue people in. But I did mention to that group, I said, Rob and I talk about some platform that's coming online. I said, but we can't tell each other that we know which platform that is because we would technically be breaking an NDA. So I said, when you talk to Rob next time, you can tell him I said that. And they got a big laugh, so.
Right, yeah.
So any speculation from the audience who this is? Who do you think's coming to podcasting?
Oh, Todd,
Don't put it in Facebook.
Don't say it either, even if you.
Oh, never! I would never say it. So it's.
We walk the line.
We haven't done. We have said nothing wrong.
That's true. That is true. Yeah.
And I will not, and it's like being in the Navy when I had access to classified material. I will never,
Right.
I will not confirm, or will I not deny? Because denying is the same as confirming. So I will not confirm or deny.
So Matt Deegan, who's the guy that runs the two podcast awards, the Australian Podcast Awards and the British Podcast Awards, and he's actually been involved in this new Radio Days event that's coming up. I guess he had an article or something that he posted, and he or was quoted in a Verge article talking about Elon Musk's appearance in Clubhouse, and he said the Clubhouse isn't about audio. At its worst, I'd say the content is basically the annoying self-promoters from LinkedIn given a microphone to talk to the echo chamber. So there you go. Take that for what it's worth.
I think it's pretty close. Because you get on a LinkedIn person's mailing list,
right?
You will get an email 5 times a week.
That, and they start taking offense if you don't respond to them too.
Right,
if you notice,
right.
What's wrong with you? How come you haven't responded to my email?
Have you noticed that too? The emails are getting more
aggressive.
They're really aggressive.
Right.
I had
Come across as desperate.
I had a Zoom representative, sales rep, basically said, "Fine, you don't want to talk to me. I will not email you anymore. Fine." He was, I was just like, delete.
Wow. Right.
Fine. That's the kind of aggressiveness. Why haven't you, 5 emails in a week? Why haven't you responded to me? And I just reach up and I go, mark a spam.
Right.
I
think there is a feeling of kind of, that if someone reaches out to you in these social platforms, that it is a moral obligation or a courtesy obligation that you have to respond. So it's becoming more and more like that. That's the feeling that I'm getting.
There's this big mystery. People want to follow me on LinkedIn. I have no problem following people back.
Right.
And they said, I couldn't find your email address.
You must not look very hard.
I'm like, it's Todd at blueberry.com.
Right.
Oh, that's your address.
Mine's right on my blog. Right in. It's publicly out there. Right?
So people are, and then they get offended when I don't. Okay, so you follow 20. I get a LinkedIn once a week, and I follow the 25 that want to connect, and immediately, boom, 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 boom. At the bottom of LinkedIn, I get 15 messages from these people, pre-produced messages, and I'll be honest with you, X. I X them all.
Right.
It's the worst part of marketing I've ever seen. It's ridiculous. Right.
Well, it's playing a guilt card with your prospects.
Right.
And which is really kind of a weird twist of the psychology. I always thought that, as a salesperson, you build trust and rapport, not shame and as your motivator. Right. So yeah,
and I usually just delete them, but every once in a while, we've gotten on some list of people that thinks Blueberry will want paid blog post on our website, and once you're on that list, what are you doing up here, kitty cat?
Yeah, or I get people. I don't know if you. I think maybe, oh, wow. Okay. I think you probably get this too, but I get emails from people that see that there's a piece of content hosted on our platform.
Yeah.
And think that they want to put a guest on that show, they want to do a link exchange or something like that. And they just don't understand that we host 80,000 shows or something.
It's an automated machine.
Right.
And I immediately hit spam on every one of those. And some of them are pretty persistent. I've emailed you 5 times on this. and you haven't responded to, to change this link or whatever. I'd be like, spam, spam, spam. Hit that enough times, then.
So, Todd, do you think this is a valid statement? I'm reading this off of a blog, and before I tell you who it's from, I just want to just pose the question to you: is the podcasting space have a vast graveyard of great content that went undiscovered?
Oh, I fully believe that.
Okay.
I think
I'm just curious what your thoughts were on that.
Yeah, I think there's a vast graveyard of great content. I think there's a vast, not even graveyard, there's a vast amount of great content that is not being discovered. A vast amount of great content.
So it's this dilemma between, you can create great content, but that doesn't guarantee it's going to find its audience.
I can usually.
Is that what you're saying?
I can usually go to that website. I'm doing these podcaster consults. I'm trying now to listen to the shows beforehand. Mm-hmm. You are being naughty. Now get down. Wants attention in a big way. Little does she know, tomorrow she's got an appointment with a vet.
Uh-oh.
Yep. So her days of being able to make, she's only 5 months old. Her days of being able to make kittens are over as of tomorrow morning.
Wow. Okay.
So, no. So going back to I think what it is, and I keep talking about this, is that you have podcasters that are only doing the fundamentals. They're just doing a show. They're not spending no time on show notes. They're not spending no time on their websites. They're not doing really, and maybe they do a little social, but it's restricted to their inner circle. They're not giving themselves an advantage to be found. It really goes back to Podcast 101. Half the battle is just doing a few things right.
Right.
And it's not complicated. Just a few things right.
Right. So you could make the case that that's the number one issue in podcasting, right?
Yeah.
So you can put all this effort into coming up with a great show, but unless you have a way of getting it out to people to find it.
But here's the thing. Sometimes
and just being in a catalog isn't enough. Right?
Sometimes it's just two guys, two ladies having a conversation about a specific topic, or they've got a series of stuff that in many retrospects goes to core of podcasting, where it's like, man, you get in deep with them. It's like you're sitting right there at the table, right?
Right.
And you're leaning in. You stop typing on your keyboard. You're looking, you're with them.
Right.
And after having listened to so many shows after so many years, what I always say is, oh, that's a great show. Make a note about that. Great show, great show. But what I never did before was follow up and go to the website or go to their, look at their metadata of all the stuff that they're doing. Mm-hmm. Someone that wants to make a lot of money in the podcasting business, just teach the fundamentals. Be a consultant that just teaches not the show recording fundamentals, the fundamentals of just the Podcast 101 stuff.
Yeah.
Because I had
Oracle.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I had a conversation that it basically said, well, they should do that. I said, they don't know to do that.
Right.
I said, we have to tell them to do that. They don't know to do a specific thing.
Right.
So I said, if they don't know, someone's got to tell them.
Right.
Not everyone. Rob, I grew up as a country boy. I have a little city savvy. I'm still a country boy at heart. I have to use Grammarly to check my spelling on anything that I submit, put out.
Yeah, I do the same thing. I use Grammarly too. Yeah.
I didn't get a marketing degree. I never went to school for broadcast. I turned wrenches and built airplanes.
Right.
I knew none of this. So, and I still probably only know 10% of what I should know. I have someone say a marketing term to me, and I glaze over. I said, "What are you talking about? What is that?" So,
Right.
but over the years, we've learned enough, and just podcasters just don't know the basics. And sadly, some of them don't care. They want a big audience, but they don't want to do the work.
Right.
Like listen to this show twice a week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think it's a fundamental problem with growth in the podcasting space.
Yeah. And it goes beyond just, following on social or putting out tweets.
There's
or
more to it. Yeah.
Right. Right. That's just the entry point. That's not the spectrum.
And guess what it is? Work. Grind.
Yeah, it is.
Grind.
And if you've got a full-time job or you've got other responsibilities, some people don't have time for it.
Got to grind.
Right.
My show has seen a little decline in listenership. I've actually been watching. But what have I haven't been doing? I haven't been doing all the extra stuff I should have been doing with the show.
Well, your marketing was your efforts around like CES.
Right. And that was the gift that keeps on giving, feeding the new people into the platform. So
it's the same with us with this show. I mean, a lot of the on-stage live events at the conferences we were doing was bringing new audiences to the show too. And I don't know if we've plateaued in the growth of this show because of that too. I don't know.
Right. So we're already at time, believe it or not, here.
Yep.
But what was else in that article? You wanted to say something else?
Well, I was just going to mention, give credit where credit's due here. Stephen Goldstein from the Ampla Media folks, our website. Mm-hmm. He posted an article talking about. Here, let me pull up to the top of the. It says why a podcast without a strategy is likely to fail. That's the premise of the whole article.
Well, it's not a complicated strategy.
Right. But you do need to think about it and set some goals and have a focus and a reason
Rob,
for what you're doing.
When we formed Tech Podcast Network, as discombobulated as that was, and getting, it's like herding cats, we still made huge inroads because we followed a couple of simple tenets: cross promotion, talking about the network landing page. That was just one of 20 different strategies we all used to build audience. Right. And I don't claim to be an expert in building audience by any means. I have my own struggles with my own show, as I've just said, but
right. In another quote in here from his article too is in the vastness of podcast choice, launching another anything similar to something else, right? It's basically, if there's a bunch of other shows out there that are doing the exact same thing that you're doing, the likelihood is pretty high that you're going to fail.
And I love that not a lot of people are creating tech shows right now. It's fantastic.
Well, it is a genre that had a serious decline.
Absolutely. And I'm reaping the benefits of longevity.
Right, because things come and go. Things come around too. I think in a lot of ways, what we're seeing in the world right now is things coming around. It's like podcasting, right? We were in it early, but we also went through a dip. Guess what? It's coming back again.
Sure.
So, if you stick with things usually work out. Usually, not always.
Right.
Well, I guess we're at the expiration hour.
Yes, we are, and I've still got like 40 emails in my inbox. I started with 115, and I could never get to the bottom of it today. So,
yep. So we're gonna get Jordan Harbinger on here and Stephen Wilson
Yeah, let's try to get them booked up here in the next week or so.
Yeah, I'm going to try and get both those guys. Well, Steve will probably come mid-month, and I can get Jordan on probably before that. So I'll shoot for probably next couple of episodes.
All right.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, everybody. Todd at Blueberry.com, at Geek News on Twitter.
I'm on Twitter too, at Rob Greenlee. And you can send me an email, robg@libsyn.com. And I also have a website, robgreenlee.com too.
And if you go ahead.
Do you think, Todd, looking into the future, how important is I know the answer to this. I mean, a website is important, but I just think I'm just trying to think 10 years from now. Do you think a website is still going to be something that's going to be something that people will use, or are we going to see more of a merge between web apps and the web?
I think consumption will happen completely in apps, but discovery is still going to be. I can't see websites going away anytime soon.
Or is what we're seeing in the world happen right now around crackdowns on platforms?
People are waking up and reverting and putting websites back up when they didn't have before, and putting up communities too.
What's happening in the world today is kind of maybe reverting back to more open platforms.
Yeah, a little bit. I tell you, I wish I was the coder of a. I wish I had a Facebook clone.
Right. Yeah.
That I could launch on my own website. I think there's such things, Mastodon and other things, but they're not as sophisticated. But
so coming back that's another example, probably, right? And it gets back to the same thing with podcasting, right? It's the open nature of the medium is where the strength is, not the weakness, right?
Yeah, we'll see. I have no idea how the winds are going to blow, but I think people have gotten a wake-up call that big platforms basically present the message they want, and you might be stuck in a no-friend zone. Yeah.
And they may have every legal reason to do that.
And it's not even about controversial content.
Right. Right.
It's just
the nature of proprietary platforms, right?
They want stuff that drives likes. Like. Got to have the like. Got to get the sugar fix. So
you take the good with the bad.
Yep. All right, everybody. We'll see you back here on Saturday.
Yes.
God, I can't believe it's already Wednesday this week. So
I know.
Everyone be safe and be good and have fun. And if you're someplace that is sun shining, enjoy the sun.
Right. Get warm.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Talk to you later, everyone.
Okay. Bye.